What's going on, everybody? Welcome out to our 6 o'clock live stream. Hopefully you're all having a safe, happy week. I'm finally not sick. Back is on fire today, though, man. I was cleaning my house because we got Baba coming to stay at the house, so I was straightening up around. But anyway, yeah, that whatever's going around is no joke. If you can not get it, stay away from it.
I'm like a cockroach, you know what I mean? I get like sick once a year.
I usually get that once a winter,
Yeah.
so I'm hoping that that's what this was.
Of course I'm going to get sick now that I said that.
Yeah, probably.
I'm going to get deathly
I'll
ill.
scooch a little. There you go.
Scoocha.
But yeah, man, good to be back in the shop, and from here on out, we should be in the shop unless there's some last minute goddamn March snowstorm, which, we go from 82 degrees down to 40 degrees.
Yeah, I think it was 82 and snowing the next day. Wet snow.
Yeah, so it's a bit ridiculous here in the Northeast. So all you people that live down south or in nice warm countries,
DARPA.
go pound sand. The only one that's not bitching is probably Sarah up north, dude, because it's
Yeah.
probably still snowing full tilt up there. But anyway, tonight we're going to pretty much continue on a subject that Ruthless Irons brought up. And we're continue to keep going down this rabbit hole, man, with big corporations. And the beginning part of the show tonight, we're going to talk about a post that Ruthless Irons made, and then we're going to go ahead and do the second part, which actually ties right into what we're talking about. So it's one of those situations where I didn't think that we intended on the initial show continue to rear its ugly head, but here we are, because as things progress, more and more comes out of the woodwork, man, and it's pretty interesting. But before we get into that, man, let me pose something that actually RC brought up, and I'm going to give RC credit for this. When we talk about change, right, and the change of the craft, right now there's a lot of pushback against the change of using, pens, disposable cartridges, all that stuff, right? What would you consider to be the three big changes in tattooing for modern tattooing?
Well, so I accidentally ordered 7 mags instead of 7 liners, and I was looking for a local tattoo supply house that maybe I could drive to, or somewhere where I could not spend a lot of money for shipping.
Okay.
And there's three supply houses within driving distance of my shop. None of them carry needle-on bars. They all carry the tips for the Bishop machines.
Okay.
So that's a huge difference. Like the not only the use of the Bishop machine, but the necessity for understanding how a rotary machine or a coil machine works.
I think you're going too modern, though. I'm talking from the late 1800s forward. 3 big changes.
3 big changes since the 1800s?
Yeah.
Electricity. Come
on. Okay, after hand poke, when we started going electric, what were the 3?
The involvement of women in tattooing was one.
Okay, that's one that I wasn't accounting for. So 4.
I'm drawing a blank, bub.
So, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is because, like RC put it, there is always going to be pushback against change. So it doesn't matter what generation you're in. Let us know, by the way, if we sound okay, look okay, everything's cool. So I don't know. I want to make sure we're all right. It's been a while since I've had this setup running, so I want to make sure. All right. Okay, so let's start in order. So basically, you had stencils, the plastic stencils.
The acetates.
Okay. Then you had the Thermofax machine,
Mm-hmm.
and now you have the pen. So if you look at the, actually he said the other one happened before that. The what do you call? Oh, man, I wrote it down too, and I'm drawing a blank. The pen, not the rotary.
The hectograph pen?
Thank you. So a hectograph pen, the stencils, the thermographic paper.
I would be really. I've always been sort of curious as to how tattooers realized that that would work, because the paper that we use in the stencil makers is originally from drum copiers, and the purple copy that we get rid of was the copy that was necessary for the drum. They would put the purple copy into a drum copy machine. You know which ones I mean? The boom, boom, and that's what would print the papers. And I'm trying to figure out like what tattooer was like, I think this stuff would make great stencils. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
Like I can see the evolution of modern tubes. Easy. I can see the evolution of modern needles easily. But like that seems kind of far off. Like
now,
as far as innovation.
right, but so I think that you mean as far as the examples that I gave.
No, what I mean is that to go from acetates to modern stencils, that's a pretty heavy jump.
Right, and so what he was saying was that, obviously he wasn't around pre-stencil, but he was on that cusp of when you would go from stencils to the thermographic paper, and how that was like a big thing. There was a lot of pushback with that. Now, obviously there's people chiming in the comments right now where they're like, electricity, blah, blah, blah. But Sarah made a good point too, where she said, my first thought was sanitation. Sanitization. Sorry, not sanitation. We're not talking about the guys that pick up your garbage.
Right.
That's huge, right? But I don't think there was. I almost said there was no pushback against that, but there was. Some of the old guard definitely pushed back, but I think that after they realized that the need for it made sense, right?
So with first with the acetate stencils, like basically you would flip them over and the graphite would sit on the surface of the skin in Vaseline. So if you weren't careful, you there was no stencil at all.
Yeah.
And the thing with the sanitation is when I first got my A to Z book from Spalding and Rogers, there was an extra little booklet that you got about autoclave sterilization. Because when that book was originally written, they were still saying that heat was enough to kill all the germs. You could buy a thing called a heat clave
Okay.
versus an autoclave. And heat claves were like $400 versus autoclaves, which were excessively more than that.
Okay. I just I found it interesting that during our conversation that had come up, and he said that obviously he wasn't around for the first part of that, but for the second part where we went from acetates to thermographic paper, he knew a lot of people that were pushing back on that, and then as things progress and you realize how easy it was or how much easier it was, right? So I think that where he was trying to go with that is, how many people are starting to make that switch over to rotary because it's so much easier. And he said that, he doesn't tattoo that much these days, but there are times where he uses a pen instead of a quill machine. And, it's just the ease factor for him. And the fact that he, his hands don't work as good as they used to and, stuff like that. So I just found it pretty interesting. And I think why I wanted to bring it up is because I definitely don't. I think that you have softened your stance over the past year where you're just like, ah, whatever, dude. You use whatever you're gonna use. I'm gonna use what I use. You know, you're not like real, like you were real resistant when we first started talking about this stuff. So,
Because there's no denying the beauty of the tattoos that the youngsters are doing.
yeah,
There's no looking at that photorealistic work and thinking, "Wow, that's terrible." You know,
right.
I mean, there's questions about whether it's going to last, how it's going to age. That's all understandable, but and it does kind of still disappoint me that I walk into a tattoo convention, I don't hear anything,
Yeah.
or I hear the one electric machine, the one coil machine towards the back.
So Irish said, "I want to send you my sticker book to hang in the background." Well, I tell you what, dude, you send 2 of them and include a self-addressed stamp envelope, and I'll send you some tattoos and review stickers. While we're on the subject of stickers, good segue, Irish. Thank you. I hooked Justin up with some stickers that Tattoo Tony gave me.
Which are top tier. If anybody wants to buy stickers from Tattoo Tony, these are top tier.
Yeah, so he sent a couple for the Tattoo Museum of New Jersey. You know, some for the actual shop, the Tattoo Tony shop. You're probably not gonna be able to see that; it's
Yeah,
too
that's why I
far
didn't
away.
hold it.
But actually, the one sticker that I have is the shirt that I'm wearing right now. So, Tattoo Tony, thank you for the shirt, brother. Much appreciated. I plan on actually getting some stickers and stuff like that on our Shopify store, because if I don't start selling stuff, I'm actually going to shut that Shopify store down, because that's costing me money, dude. I just got whacked with the bill, and I was like, Jesus, dude.
Do we sell anything on there?
Sold a shirt. Sarah bought a coffee mug, the Two Fat Guys coffee mug, with the backside is the chubby pinup, and then on the front side is us.
Nice.
So no, not really.
Thank you, Sarah.
Sarah's supporting the cause as always, man. But yeah, cool. Irish said he'd send both. We got a pretty decent crowd in here tonight. We got all our regulars hanging with us, which is awesome to see. I'm glad to see everybody's hanging. Do you want to get into the first part of this?
They're watching.
Who's watching?
They put tracers in the ink.
Yeah,
They're watching.
well, we're going to get to that part in a second, but the first part I want to get into is, and I got to make sure I'm on the right. Hold on, give me 1 second. Yeah, so I am on the right one. Okay, we're going to go to this first. Now, Ruthless Irons actually posted this up, and again, he's been a pretty amazing source of information for this stuff. And I think after this, unless something huge happens, we'll get off the subject, man. I don't want to beat everybody over the head with this. And Sarah said 10 out of 10 for the coffee mug. Would recommend 5 stars. There you go.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you again.
So Ruthless Iron said he made a post. I have all 4 slides that are included. The business model, Cuticle Labs, sorry, not abs. Stevenson and MySock aren't just bureaucrats. They are private consultants. They're using federal money to build a compliance architecture that their own private firm, Cuticle Labs, then sells back to you as service. It isn't a safety framework. It's a business model designed to turn a craft into a corporate industry. So I think I might have these out of line.
I mean, sooner or later,
There it is.
in any successful grassroots movement or underground culture, the money guys are going to show up. It's just a matter of time.
For sure. Thank you, Sarah, for the $5 super chat.
Thank you, Sarah, again.
Sarah just knocking it out of the
Killing
park,
it.
dude. Killing it. I'm gonna have to start buying some of your furry rabbit foots or something. So
10 p.m. creations, people.
yeah, 10 p.m. creations. I'll have. I got the slides up to support our friends here. We'll do that at the end. This is a 3-person monopoly. The leadership of the invite-only MIWG MOCRA implementation work group consists of Ken Stevenson, VP of Regulatory at Cuticle Labs, John Mysock, former FDA official, senior regulatory consultant at Cuticle Labs, and Amy Ward, tattoo artist and pro EU reach advocate. These 3 people are the ones who officially labeled your ink a higher risk product on February 12th of 2026. Thank you, Chris Hawkins, for the $5 super chat.
Thank you, Chris.
So this just happened on February 12th, which is why we were actually going to bring this up, what was it, 2 weeks ago?
Yes.
And then the whole thing went down with Lobo and the Ink Master thing, so we pushed this to this portion of it. So I apologize for having these out of order, folks, but to verify the federal funding for yourself, go to usapending.gov. This is the official U.S. government database for all the federal spending. Search Association of Food and Drug Officials, or AFDO. The grant ID, look for yourself, gives the list of the number. You will see the $5,075,000 in corporate agreement funding for the FDA for fiscal year 2025. These are the tax dollars being used by a private organization to draft new rules. Thank you, Bill O'Connell, for the $5 super chat.
Thank you.
Rolling in tonight, man. Awesome. Always appreciate your help, man. So right there, I mean, you're seeing it's basically three people controlling this whole thing and also getting federal funding, but they're part of that whole MOCRA thing, which is the one that is trying to set the precedent for inks. So going through their regulatory process in order to be approved so they can come out to the public. And it's three people that are controlling that and getting federal funding on top of it. The 14 times math error, tat._bio V study. Look up the 2025 TAT Bio V study in the archives of toxicology. This peer-reviewed clinical study proves that actual systematic exposure to ink is roughly 0.31 grams per session. It says G, so I'm assuming it's grams. This is 14 times lower than the 4.31 grams hair dye math the regulators are using to justify labeling our trade as higher risk. The science is on our side. The regulation is based on a lie. Which got me into looking into this study. And this is where Justin just made the joke about how they're actually tracing you or tracking you.
All right, so before we get into this, I mean, I've mentioned this before, but years ago, 3 of the big ink companies were sued in California by a group of California lawyers because California has the strictest lead laws in the United States.
Okay.
And I knew one of the guys that was being sued, Wes from Unimax.
Right.
And Wes was always super vocal about, tattooers' rights.
Right.
And what he had explained to me was that they were approached by these lawyers who said to fight this suit and win will cost XXX amount of money. To settle with us so that we just go away and drop the suit will cost XXX. So it was really just a shakedown.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with the lead content in ink. And another thing is, when the APT, when the Alliance of Professional Tattooers was formed, it was formed to deal with this stuff. It was formed as like an informed body of artists who would try to have some kind of control over what was being done to their industry. And I think like with the advent of thousands and thousands and thousands of new tattooers, that's completely, cows out of the barn now.
Yeah, but do you feel as though APT, anything like that, because isn't there, what's the other group?
National Tattoo Association?
Maybe. No, I don't think that's right. I don't remember, but do you feel like that they would make a difference now?
If they'd been supported and lobbied after, yes.
So do you think that if that were to go strong again, would it make a difference now? Before some of this stuff starts to come further down the pipe. I mean, I understand what you're saying. Well, that the cows out of the barn and stuff like that. But if you guys were to unite, get stronger, and fight as a group collectively again, and I'm going to give you an example on why I think it would work. But we can debate that. Do you think it would make a difference now?
No.
Okay. The only reason I'm saying that is so for years there was it was called NCOM for motorcyclists. So you had groups of different motorcycle enthusiasts from across the country that just happened to be into the same group, and together they united, put beefs aside, and they had a group that was called NCOM. And that NCOM had high powered lawyers. Everybody paid some kind of due towards it. And if one of the motorcycle enthusiast groups got in trouble, their lawyers, if it was an issue that they dealt with, their lawyers would help you fight it. So what you just said to me earlier was that they told Wes it would take X amount of money to fight this. Now, if you had a group like that, let's say it's the APT again, maybe under a different kind of,
But with hundreds of thousands of members,
yeah,
hundreds of thousands of due paying members,
yeah, everybody's
make a
paying
difference.
$5-10 a month or whatever,
that would make a difference.
120 a year, let's call it, right? $10 a month.
Yeah.
Then you would have quite a large pool of money to combat the mom and pops getting pushed out of the picture.
How many tattoo shops are there in the United States now?
I can Google it. I don't know if it'll be the right answer, but I could Google it and see what it
How
says.
did I not know this?
I don't think there's a. I'm going to Google it, but I don't even know if they're going to logistically be able to go. Yeah, you know what? I can give you that answer. All right, so
I'm going to say, do you think 100,000 is?
I think there's more than that.
50 states.
In the United States. Let's see what it says. Dude, this number, that's what I'm saying. This number seems excessively low. 28,711.
So they're saying basically 600 shops to a state.
Right
on
now,
average.
But
Call it 30,000, 50 states.
right, 600. So
Five into
you know,
about 1,500 a state. Or
it's-
no?
no. So if you have 30,000,
Uh huh.
30,000 shops divided by 50 states, 600 shops per state.
There's more. Yeah. There's more than 600 shops in my hometown.
Might not be. So
Registered, legal.
right, but that even so, that number seems super low. I want to say it's higher than that, but and Irish just said, what about unlicensed shops? And
Well, would unlicensed shops be paying money to an organization like the APT?
no. Well, so that's depending. That would depend on, is it a shop, thing, or is it individual artist thing, right? Because even if there was 30,000, let's say 30,000, and so you take 30,000 shops, right? And then you say let's just say on average there's 3 per shop.
90,000 artists.
So 90,000 artists, and then you take that times $10 a month. That's 900,000 a month. I mean, that's a huge chunk of change, dude. I would say that you pretty much could afford a good lawyer and you had a centralized lawyer that would say, hey, you know, so and so, Joe Blow's tattoo ink over here is getting pushed out because of MOCRA findings or whatever. Let's go to bat for him. And then, you know, boom. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
So I wonder if what we should be looking at is old old school tattooers uniting along uh, lighting along lines of friendship and associating like that. So and so has access to ink. So and so makes excellent needles. So and so wraps his own coils, and it goes underground, and we just support each other again.
So,
Would that be the worst thing ever? So the
no.
bishop pens and the corporate stuff that can be over here, and the real underground tattooers can be over here doing what we've been doing
So, ironically enough,
since time began.
now this dude doesn't have huge numbers, so he's not necessarily going to, you know, be able to take your idea to the next level. But he's already started that process where he's been doing a real, like, if not every day, every other day. That dude, Paint by Charlie, or Mid-Time Charlie. You know, he just made one the other day where he was talking about buying a Scott Sterling machine. And he was like, you know, look, it was, you know, more expensive than what he's normally bought, but he knows it's top tier, it's made right, you know, all the things that you're looking for a machine, but they're still cheaper than a pen. And, you know, we have tattoo artists that are like, oh, man, I don't want to spend that much money because it's, you know, it's a little bit more than what you would normally get, blah, blah, blah. But then they turn around and go buy a pen. And then you made a perfectly good comment today while we were talking this before the show. And you said, you know, yeah, well, what happens when a pen goes and takes a shit? Well, you got to send it back to the company. Now, I've also heard that that's not as much of an option as it used to be either. So you're going to literally turn around and have to spend another $1,400.
Yeah, so I was telling a friend of mine that short of doing something like changing the coils, right? If my machine takes a shit in the middle of a tattoo, if it's anything to do with the armature bar, the springs, the points, that can all be fixed within 5 minutes. You know, I can get that machine running again.
So Bill O'Connell said, I've been a supporting member of the APT since 1994. Now, I know that there's, you know, numerous tattoo artists that I've interviewed or whatever that have talked about still being members or whatever, or past members.
I'm a past member.
You know, but at this point, you know, if you truly wanted to try to hold your ground, maybe collectively as a group, that's what you guys need to do. And I'm just throwing it out there, man. I don't know if that's the right answer or not, but I saw it from a side of the motorcycle world, and I saw the value in it, being a part of that. So, just a thought, man. Drag said, it's not important which tool, it's important who work with it. So that's true, too. I mean, you know, I saw a reel tonight before I headed over to the shop, and it was Beaver Duck, and he was on a show. I don't know what podcast it was on, but he was talking about how, you know, there's this us against them mentality, and that, you know, he really kind of started to realize some of this stuff when he was doing a trip with Shane Enholm, and he realized that a lot of these old guys that are the old guard that are still holding on to history and have tons of knowledge that could be passing on are going to start to disappear, and you could start to lose some of that stuff. And now's the time to put aside some of the bullshit and join and unite together, and not only carry on the traditions and the history, but carry on to hold this thing up, to stop it from getting squashed by these giant corporate umbrellas, because that's what it was. It was never about that. It was a really powerful little 2-minute speech, and you know, man, I thought, damn, that's pretty heavy duty, man.
I mean, if you think about it, right? Charlie Wagner is a cornerstone of East Coast tattooing, and nothing of his exists anymore. not nothing, but nothing. I believe it's nothing of his personally exists anymore because it all ended up in a dump. People have machines that he built and sold, but his personal stuff gone, just gone. Patty Kelly, a pioneer as a woman in tattooing, right? Gone.
Yeah. What, like last week, right?
Yeah, this week.
Not, yeah.
Yeah.
It's sad, man. I mean, now's the time, folks. If you have any love for the history and traditions, now's the time to start embracing the older generation folks that are still hanging on and out there doing it. I know there's obviously going to be people that are, they might even be listening right now, which is fine. We're not here to be the divider. We're always here to try to unite, which is why I guess I'm trying to say this is you might not be interested in it now, but you might down the line. Don't pass up the opportunity to see some of these older guys and girls. Like, Good Time Charlie's going to be at your local convention. Go just to see him, to talk to him, and maybe if you're not really interested in history, maybe that discussion that you have with him might be the thing that changes your attitude. Just a thought. Scott Force said, "I'm coil. Zeb is rotary. Madam and Bumble are coil. I have no mentors left alive anymore. All mine are now gone." So, yeah, man, that's sad, dude. And speaking of Shane Enholm, I will.
Back on Instagram.
Is he?
Yeah.
No, well, kind of. I think he's actually posting through other people. I will be at the Skindustry Tattoo Expo in Allentown this weekend. Shane is going to be there. Shane, from what I understand, is bringing a very special guest with him. Big name in the tattoo machine world. So if you're anywhere remotely close to Allentown, PA, you might want to stop and check it out.
And to go back to the Scott Sterling machine thing, right? If you pay a little extra for a Scott Sterling machine, or you pay a little extra for an Aaron Kane, or you pay a little extra for any of the people that I can't think of immediately, you also get the right to call them and say, "Scott, the rear springs are a little wonky," right? And he'll tell you what to do. Do you know what I mean? Like Bishop is never going to tell you, because you could never have the tools anyways, because that's all what in there. That's all what do they call them, boards? Circuit boards.
Yeah. Yep.
It's like fixing a new Harley Davidson. It's impossible.
Well, depends
on the road.
Right. Depends on what's wrong with it, but
if the computer goes, you got a paperweight.
Bill O'Connell said, "I've been tattooed by 14 artists. 5 of them have passed away." Irish said, "Allentown, town I was born in 1971.
Same.
And you were born in Allentown, PA?
No, I was born in 1971.
Oh.
Kind of same.
Chris Hawkins said, "I'm on a mission to get as many as I can from OG artists. I saw the back piece that Dana Brunson was working on for you, Chris. It looked pretty awesome, dude. I can't wait to see the end of it." I'm not necessarily on a mission to get tattooed by all the OG tattoo artists. I wish I could. I just don't have the finances to do that. If I had the money, like if, I won the lottery or something and I could do it, I would absolutely do it. But, I support when I can.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, hey, look, I'll try to continue to do as many interviews as I can from the OGs. I know I keep saying this, and I am still working on the Corey Miller thing, but the reason the delay on this has been because I've not only dug deep on some cool pictures, but Corey's actually pulling out some rare shit. I think you guys are going to be floored when you see this interview, man. There's going to be some really awesome pictures that are included with this episode. So, pretty stoked about that. And Corey's just a fun guy to listen to, man. He's got some good stories, and he's just very California.
Very California.
Yeah, he's a great dude.
Linear time, man. What's up with linear time?
Uh, Chris Hawkins said that's what limits me too. Yeah, man. It's I wish I had more money to get tattooed. I just don't. Bill O'Connell said the artist that works on me now told me she ordered a new pen machine last week. It cost $800. So there you go. I mean, that's they might be getting cheaper. I don't know where, you know, I don't know if Midtime Charlie said he looked it up and it was $1,400, but
I wonder if there's tiers of it.
maybe, maybe,
Maybe like the $1,400 machine puts a finger in your butt.
maybe gives you the good stuff. Yeah, getting back to this Tat Bio V thing. This was
This is bullshit.
part of the stuff that was mentioned on the post that Ruthless Irons made, and I felt like it was worth bringing up for you guys to just check it out. Now, a lot of big words being thrown around here, and when I was trying to read it, man, it was getting all jumbled up, and I had to reread it again and reread it again. But we'll go ahead and roll through this real quick because it's a really short article. But they talk about some stuff here that's it's kind of scary, and so let's jump into it.
Well, I mean, the other day I was listening to my cell phone while eating my genetically mutated hamburger from my microwave, thinking, man, I think the ink in my skin is going to cause cancer.
Okay.
I was drinking water from the tap, thinking, man, the ink in my skin is going to give me cancer.
Yeah, dude, I think this is super far fetched.
The absurdity. I mean, not the absurdity of the science. Like, the science is kind of fascinating.
Right.
That they can put tracers in your bloodstream now, but the studying the ink is a cancerous agent.
Yeah, so about 1/5 of people in industrial countries are tattooed, potentially putting them at risk of exposure to possible carcinogenic or otherwise harmful substances.
Like breathing,
Yeah.
put you at risk.
This study aims to determine the exposure of soluble tattoo ink ingredients and their excretion within the 24 hours after tattooing. In this clinical study, 24 subjects, so 24 people decided they wanted to be a human guinea pig, were tattooed with black or red tattoo ink, to which the three tracer substances, potassium iodide, 4-aminobenzoic acid, and fentanyl, I have no clue. Anyway, had been added to mimic known substances found in tattoo inks. Tracers and their metabolites were quantified in blood, urine, and ink and consumable pre and post tattooing. Sorry, I don't mean to jumble that all up. Tattooed skin area was determined using picture analysis. PBA metabolism upon tattooing was compared to peroral administration. Skin fibroblasts and macrophages.
That's what I did when I was in 6th grade.
Macrophages?
No, what was it?
Skin fibroblasts?
Yeah, in the theater, in the movies,
With your girlfriend?
with my girlfriend, 6th grade.
Fibroblasting?
Yeah, we did some fibroblasting.
Were tested in vitro for their ability to metabolize PBA. All tracers or their metabolites were identified in urine, iodide, and PBA metabolite. ACD were identified in plasma. The worst case scenario, systemic ink exposure was estimated to be 0.31 grams per ink tattoo session. So they're saying at that other lab it was 4.31. And this is saying 0.31. So, parole administration resulted in lower levels of ACD than tattooing. Fibroblasts and macrophages were capable of converting PBA into ACD. So, blah, 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 blah. This is way too technical. You don't need to understand it.
So basically what they're saying is that they've tattooed people with ink, they put tracers in it, and then they measured their serum, their urine, and to see how quickly
it metabolizes.
your body gets rid of it. right? Because it said expulsion in there, right?
But the thing is, dude, yeah, like, what the F, dude? And then, you know, in this day and age, you got to go, well, what else are they trying to do with that? And what if they start putting that in all the ink? I mean, there just seems to be a lot of shady, backhanded shit going on with this stuff. All under the guise of, we want three people to, make all the money.
I mean, not to be not to be weird or conspiracy minded, but about 6 years ago, they convinced what 80% of the world's population that they needed a shot. I mean, however you feel about that, one way or the other, isn't important, but that's a pretty amazing thing.
So Scott Force said the most important thing we could do to bridge the younger generation tattooers slash artists and what's OGs are left. I agree 100%, man. Like, if now's the time to try to make this bridge happen before it's too late. I think that there's too many people out there that are going to be able to, if they take, pass away or whatever, we're going to lose a lot of this. So there are several, meaning, that want to learn our way. It's only a gamble if the OGs don't meet them. The ones wanting to learn history, I guess that's a green flag. That is a term. He said, is that a term? Yeah, that is a term, dude. And I think that you and I both agree that there are starting to be a lot of younger people showing up all of a sudden that are interested in history. And that's a good thing, man. I mean, I'm happy to see that. Obviously, I'm happy for my own personal reasons, but I'm also happy with the fact that this thing's not going to disappear under the rug, man. I mean, I think that we were teetering on a pretty dangerous line there for a while.
Here, can I ask you something
Sure.
without being too weird? Yeah, too late. So, have you ever heard the idea that part of the trouble with almost every facet of society is that young people do not want to be they don't respect wisdom and age anymore, but older people want to be young now.
Okay.
Do you understand? Like young men don't want to grow up to be mature men, with some wisdom and some experience. Mature men want to digress into young men. So I think what that fosters is this idea that if you were tattooing before whatever line of demarcation the youngsters have, whether it's the advent of the pen, the advent of Ink Master, whatever it is, that you're a relic. That's a that's a common attitude. Just like the attitude of the old timer who's like, if you haven't been tattooing since 1990.
Dude, yeah, but that is a thing that's happened throughout history. I mean, think about when you were 20 years old and you thought you knew everything, right? You thought you were the exception. You were wiser beyond your years.
Right, but the older men in my life were not trying to be 20.
Well, that's true.
That's the difference, right? I was able to look up to like adults, man.
Yeah.
Not that I would at 20 years old, but when I finally came around.
You know what, man? I saw something the other day that completely floored me. And it was on Instagram, man, and it had a picture of all these famous actors. And it was like, and it showed what their age was when they were on that TV show. And it blew my mind. I'm going to give you one example right off the top of my head. I don't mean to go on a side quest
no, please, yeah.
here with you all, but this kind of rolls into what we were just talking about. How old do you think Fred Sanford was when that show was on TV? Sanford and Son?
Yeah. Red Fox.
Yeah, Red Fox.
I'm going to say he was 60.
43 years old.
Wow.
Okay, next one. I'm just going off the top of my head. Archie Bunker. How old do you think Archie Bunker was when he was on
50s, 60s, yeah.
48.
I mean, have you ever seen this thing that says is it Sylvia Varga, the woman, the Spanish lady from Modern Family, is now the same age as Betty White when Betty White was on the Golden Girls.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
the top comment that was on there was obviously all older people that were answering this, but the top comment was like, "I suddenly feel like I aged very well."
yes.
Now, is that? I think that
Have you seen Avril
comes
Lavigne
down to
lately?
perception of what you think is older and more mature when you're younger.
No, but what I mean is that when I was a young tattooer, right, I wanted the respect. Like I wanted the respect of older, established tattooers.
Right.
That was like a goal of mine.
But now you have older tattooers that are trying to still act like 20-year-olds instead of being the more
Right.
mature. Yeah,
The
no, I get you.
the older tattooers want the respect now of the younger generation, which we're never going to get.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Because I don't think we're supposed to. Like there's some, maybe I think that's something that's changed.
Right. Well, uh, Scott Force said we have to vet them, and they are relevant. And then Irish said it's all about who you blow instead of what you know. Like Lobo, he's a real skill, but got walked all over, and it sucks. Yeah, man.
I mean, we were talking about a tattooer. I don't know if you want to say his name a couple days ago, right? That just tattooed in Philly, kept his head down, wasn't all over the convention scene. And even though he's really known here, right?
It's RC.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, RC. You know,
I mean,
when he was
he's an institution in Philadelphia.
right, but when he was, in his prime, let's say, he wasn't really too concerned about going to conventions and rubbing elbows with other people. He was just kind of heads down, and like he had other stuff going on. But the thing is that there are probably hundreds, if not thousands, of those guys all over the United States. I mean, we all like kind of call them like our local legends. But once they get outside of their little area, nobody knows who they are because that's just how they were. Now, does that mean that they were less talented than, let's say, Ed Hardy or what? That's a bad example. They were less talented than Rollo,
Yeah.
right? Because Rollo was just right place, right time, worked at the right shop, and then was good about maybe
I think I think
politicized.
I think Malone was more talented than Hardy.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Look at the and no disrespect to Don Hardy, but look at the volume of flash that Rollo made.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's you're gonna equate that to being. I mean, look at the work that Ed Hardy was doing. Put Flash aside, dude. Let's look at actual just talent.
And machine building.
Well,
Malone built machines.
so Irish just said little fish, big pond theory. Exactly. Chat Prout, welcome to the show. Youth is now the ultimate goal in our capitalistic society.
Absolutely.
And that's right. That's exactly what Justin was saying. I mean, like we've gotten to some weird point where we are, younger kids are trying to act older, which has happened through history. I mean, everybody, 20 years old, you think you're an adult hanging out with the big boys and whatever. But now all of a sudden we've got adults that are still trying to hold on to their youth and they're acting like 20-year-olds and they're 50 years old, 60 years old. At some point somebody's got to be the adult in the room and look the part.
Yeah, and be looked up to.
I mean, and dude, and not to get all like, whatever, but that's why we have some of the issues that we have too when we have adults that are trying to be friends with their kids instead of being their parent. Like that's a big issue. But I don't want to get into that.
So a good example, like what I think it is, like Mike Chambers does really clean, beautiful tattoo work, right? It's pristine. But there's 50,000 other tattoo artists that are doing super clean, pristine, traditional work.
Right.
But Mike, like, is really good at selling himself, at promoting himself.
Yeah,
At
Burt Crack, dude.
yeah,
Perfect example. He's, you know, man, like he's doing phenomenal American traditional work, but he knows how to promote himself.
yeah.
You
And
know,
that's I think that's the difference between like a character like RC who just kept his head down and worked
yeah.
versus
Well, you know, and he had other interests as well.
even Eddie, right? I mean, Eddie, Eddie promoted himself.
Like a champ. I mean,
Yeah, like when holding two screwdrivers becomes iconic, you have arrived, my friend.
yeah. Scott Force said, brothers, Mr. Domo, Humboldt, Tennessee, started tattooing in 1968. I think Madam said he has his 40 years from National the last time we visited. Still tattooing every day except Sunday. Now, another old timer that's got like crazy amount of years that's still tattooing, Burt Rodriguez, man, out there in California, dude. I saw him tattooing at the Lady Luck Tattoo Convention, dude. He's 50 some years. You know, Sailor Eddie, who, you know, occasionally pops in here every once in a while, dude. He's at the 50-year mark. That's insane. I haven't done anything for, you know, that kind of length of time. Like, I have nothing under my repertoire that, you know, I've done consistently. That's insane to me.
At least not as an adult.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've done a lot of shitting in my life.
Anyway, Bill O'Connell said, I went to a Harley dealership last Friday. Bill. That I worked at in 1994 and 95. Different owner now. Couple employees thought it was so cool when I talked about racing and riding in the 1970s and the 80s. Yeah, I don't even want to get on that soapbox, brother. I just it pisses me off to no end how Harley has definitely been treating their customers, and their sales have shown, and that's why their company is going to shit right now. You know, when you totally dismiss your clientele that saved your company and kept your company afloat for the sake of skinny jeans and you know, skinny jeans and slim cut shirts and brother, those aren't the people that are spending the money to buy your goddamn piece of shit $50,000 motorcycles. Okay,
You can't profit off something while looking down your nose at it.
there you go.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. Like, I can't even. I'll anyway. Anyway. So we just thought
So-
tonight though that the topic that for the with this tracing thing, I know it seemed like real segmented and kind of, you know, it didn't meld together at the end with that, but I think that we wanted to bring that up because it was brought up in the whole Ruthless post that I thought was poignant when you talk about, you know, three people that are basically controlling how Tattoo Inc. is going to be controlled and how different things in tattooing are going to be controlled. But, you know, maybe we're doing the little tinfoil hat action where we're talking about, you know, tracers and inks and stuff like that. But you can't put anything past anybody anymore.
What we're
dude.
really talking about is, yes, individuals trying to control tattooing in the United States. And really, if you can get with the idea that at least recently, things that have happened in Europe have migrated to the United States, right? Mm-hmm. Stuff usually happens over there first, and then it makes its way here. And, you know, single use ink packets.
Right.
I mean, if you would have told Lal Hardy when he started tattooing in the 80s that eventually he was not going to be able to use ink out of a bottle, that it would have to be single use packs, It would have been inconceivable.
He would have laughed at you.
Yeah.
Scott Forrest said, I'm not touching the Harley shit either. Bill O'Connell said, I quit working in Harley dealerships in 1995 because I became too corporate. I went back to work in a small private-owned shop that worked on all model bikes. Yeah, dude, it's been at least 2 years since I've stepped into a Harley dealership, dude. Scott Forrest said, sometimes we got to do outlaw shit. Part of it, tattooing is cleaning itself. We'll see. I mean, I would be real curious to see how or if the tide changes if there's a sudden influx of money. If, let's say, there was some rebate check that came out within summertime, right? For whatever reason. The moon shifted 2 centimeters to the left. We're going to get everybody $1,000 check, right? I'm trying to make this as hypothetical as I can.
You know, all life would cease if that happened?
Probably. Yeah, because gravity would be all jacked.
Yeah, such delicate balance.
Anyway, if that were to happen and everybody was now, oh man, everybody's getting $1,000 check, what do you think the shift would be in tattooing?
With $1,000 check, I think I'd be super busy.
Right.
Because
then it would also continue the vicious cycle of the influx of COVID tattooing. Right?
I mean, it's the COVID tattoo shop. That's, I mean, not to be a bastard with the youngsters, but it's the COVID tattoo shop. You know what I mean? It's the guys that save their money from the PMA or the PFA or whatever it was, PUE that everybody was getting, and then opened up shops.
Right. So, Drag said we didn't believe it. We not believe the reach two till it was there.
The reach. That's
Yeah.
a good way to say it, Drag. The reach.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's you know, he's somebody that's, you know, newer generation, never thought it would have happened, and here it is. Boom. Scott said, I saw that coming crazy too. My boy Danny Scheiser did my chest with some Mocha black, fucking beautiful black, but it itches every now and then. Interesting.
You know, sometimes I think they hate freedom. They love talking about freedom, but they hate freedom. They hate free people.
Well, I think it's going to be interesting, man, and I'm curious to see now how there seems to be a giant pushback on corporate entities getting into this, and I want to see if it continues, the pushback continues, and B, I want to see if the pushback continues, will it be enough to stop it?
No.
Or will the ball continue to roll? They'll just find different ways to keep it rolling. I would love to see something happen where the APT has a little bit more set of stones. You know, get more people involved and have the potential of, you know, having like big name lawyers under their belt to fight anything that comes down the pipe. I would like to see it go that route. This way, you could at least do everything you can within your power to stop it. Will it work? I don't know. Time will tell, I guess.
I mean, I'd like to see it go that route too. But I just, you know, once the money people are here, right?
Yep.
Like once Willie G really, really allowed corporate interest
Yeah.
into Harley Davidson, right?
Yeah, I don't even know who the CEO is now or whatever. I know it was the dude from Yahoo at one point, and then it was the guy from Nike. I don't know who it is now, but all I know is I miss the mom and pop shops.
I mean, when you know, when they said that, when Harley Davidson said that Cherry Creek was the only Flash brand allowed to use the Harley logo, and they went out and they sued.
Right.
They sued to have, you know, all these other Flash brands remove their logo.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Moderator Nikki said the people with money will always try to hold down the people that are for the people. So there you go.
We are the people for the people who advocate. We are the who advocate for the people.
What was that? Santa Claus?
Huh?
What? I was thinking of the Christmas movie Fred Claus,
Yeah.
where he's trying to collect money on the corner, and he's trying to compete with the Salvation Army people. He's like, "We're the people for the people. People supporting people. Donate to my cause. You don't want to help other people." Anyway, uh,
See, that's
Scott Force said, "Laugh my ass off. Want to see some hard drawn flash with their logo all over it, hand drawn." Drag said, "Right, Nikki, but we are strong." There you go. But I hope you all enjoyed the show tonight, man. I know it was a crazy topic, and I think it covered a lot of ground tonight, but I felt like it was a good show to bring up because it just continues the ball rolling for Ruthless and the mission that he set off. Hopefully, we see some more of that stuff come down the pipe, and we're not going to talk about it again unless something big happens. But it felt like it was pretty important for
yeah,
us to continue it.
just sounding the alarm.
Yeah. But I hope you all have a safe, happy week. I think next Sunday, I will probably wind up doing the broadcast from the Skin Industry show. Justin's going to remote in, and
Unless I'm at the Skin Industry show.
unless he's at the Skin Industry show, and then if it's me up in at the Skin Industry show, man, maybe I'll get Baba or some other people to jump in and hang out while we're doing the show. So look forward to next Sunday, man. It could be awesome. Have a safe, happy week.
And remember, keep tattooing outlaw.
There you go. Peace out, everybody.